It's June, and we're in the middle of soccer season in Minnesota finally. That can mean only one thing: the biggest and baddest podcast to date. This month, we're going to utilize some interesting situations from Major League Soccer referee Fotis Bazakos' recent experiences at the domestic game's highest level, looking first at when players off the field with equipment issues are permitted to re-enter the game. Then we'll consider a really fascinating look at a very complicated advantage situation. But the main course for this week, we're going to go through a literal bevy of youth clips on everything from handling to charging, from foul recognition to foul selection, and even looking at a case of serious foul play in a U9 game. Yes, that's right, a U9 game. So buckle up. Our first clip this month comes from the April 6th meeting between the San Jose Earthquakes and the Vancouver Whitecaps at Buckshaw Stadium in San Jose, California. Listen closely to the announcers as this play unfolds.
Well, you saw Bernardes a couple of minutes ago signal like he wanted to change something. He was wanting to change his boots. Both he and Gordon having trouble with the slick turf here in the second half, so they're changing to their screw-ins right now at midfield. And as soon as there's a stop at the play, hopefully they'll be able to get back in. Guys.
Thanks, Kate. Quaid's playing with just 9 right now.
A little bit dangerous to come off the field like that. And not just one, but 2 players at the same time.
Bernardes trying to get signaled back in, but he's not. There's a turn and a shot blocked, and the score for Vancouver. They got the goal. Wondolowski is complaining that the players were not brought on in time, but Vancouver has equalized. Corey Herzog, in his first game of the year with Vancouver, has leveled this at 1.
Well, Frank Gallup's not going to be happy with that.
So the main problem, as you can hear the announcers describe, is that San Jose has 2 players off the field for equipment issues. San Jose's Alan Gordon and Victor Bernardes have left the field to change their shoes due to the field conditions. You can hear the announcer note at one point that Bernardes is asking to come back on, but the referee, Fotis Bazakos of Minnesota, is not waving him on. Vancouver, playing with a 2-man advantage, presses forward and scores the tying goal in a match that ends 1-1. Why did Fotis not wave Bernardes or Gordon back on if they were ready to re-enter? The answer is a poorly known clause in Law 4 pertaining to player equipment. Law 4 states that, if a player is given permission to leave the field to adjust or correct an equipment issue, that player may not re-enter without the referee's permission. The referee must check that the player's equipment is correct before allowing the player to re-enter, and the player is only allowed to re-enter the field when the ball is out of play. Many people likely assume that equipment issues are similar to injuries. An injured player may be waved back onto the field while the ball is in play, as long as that player enters from the touch line, not the goal line, and the player was not off due to bleeding. But a player who is off the field for equipment must be checked to make sure that the equipment is in compliance. Therefore, the player may not re-enter until there is a stoppage. In this case, the ball never goes out of play, so Fotis cannot wave Bernardes or Gordon onto the field even if they finish changing their shoes. Vancouver uses its 2-man advantage, San Jose is left with egg on its face, and Fotis passes his in-game test on the laws of the game. Our other MLS clip again features Fotis, this time from the May 8th game between San Jose and Toronto, once again at Buckshaw Stadium in San Jose. Let's have a look.
Cleared out, but Cronin gets it. Chavez looks for Wando and he's offside. On a play on, says Bazakos.
Wow.
The flag went up and we played on, and the shot just over the top of the bar. Jay Salinas with a chance. And you don't see that very often, Kelly. The linesman calls offside, and Fotis Bazakos says play on.
Oh, honestly, I've never seen that. The flag goes out. Wando just keeps on playing, rightfully so. And Shea Salinas has got to put that away. I mean, that's the Quakes' chance. That's their equalizer right there. That's got to be in the net. Has to be.
Very odd scene as the linesman put the flag up. I believe it was for offside.
Yeah.
Kelly.
Oh, yeah. I'm not sure that I've honestly ever seen that happen, where a center ref waves off a linesman on an offside call.
What happened on this particular play is a failure to prioritize responsibilities by the assistant referee. Fotis properly applies advantage to a foul, and also properly comes back and cautions the Toronto player for his reckless challenge, but the AR's mistake also results in the failure to catch an offside decision and nearly leads to a goal. San Jose's Martin Chavez is cut down on a reckless challenge from Toronto's Logan Emery on the wing, right in front of the assistant. This is a foul and also a caution for unsporting behavior. We're going to have to deal with it, but keep in mind that cautions do not always need to be dealt with immediately. On this play, Chavez pushes the ball forward to teammate Chris Wondolowski as Chavez is knifed down by Emery. The assistant referee has two choices. One, he can call the foul, and two, he can consider the referee, Fotis, would play advantage and keep going, in which case he should catch the fact that Wondolowski is offside and then make that call. The laws of the game list assistant referee responsibilities in the following order. Indicate when the whole of the ball leaves the field of play, which team is entitled to a corner kick, goal kick, or throw-in, when a player may be penalized for offside, when a substitution is requested, when misconduct or any other incident occurs outside of the view of the referee, when offenses have been committed where the assistant referee has a better view than the referee, and finally, whether at penalty kicks the goalkeeper moves off the goal line before the ball is kicked and whether the ball crosses the goal line. Notice that offside is the third item on the list, and calling fouls is not higher than sixth, not to mention that fouls should only be called when they are out of the view of the referee. In the situation shown in this clip, Fotis has a clear view of the challenge, so the assistant's contribution to this foul is unnecessary. Pro commented on this play and points out that the assistant referee is in a tough spot here, having to monitor both the play on the ball and the offside decision. But Pro notes that, quote, the AR's focus should have been on the offside decision as that is his primary function on this play. He is the only official that is responsible for deciding whether the player is offside, and in this case he cannot expect any of his colleagues to help him on that decision. The foul challenge is mainly the referee's responsibility, so in this case the assistant should have concentrated entirely on the offside decision and left the foul challenge to the referee. When we freeze the clip at the moment of the foul, we can see that the assistant is focused on the challenge and not the offside line. The assistant is not going to have any idea if Wondolowski is offside, which, unfortunately, he is. When Fotis signals to play on, the crew is forced to accept the run of play because the offside decision has been missed. Had this been executed properly, the assistant would have called offside with a simple flag straight up without a waggle. At that point, Fotis could have stopped play, brought the play back to the foul, cautioned Emery, and awarded a direct free kick. Though the TV coverage cuts away, we do see Fotis replacing the card in his pocket after cautioning Emery, as he did come back and issue the card as needed for a foul of this nature. Fotis also had the option to simply kill the play with the foul call due to the need to card this challenge. He could have recognized that Wondolowski was borderline offside, that his AR was no longer able to call it, and for the sake of game management simply stop the play on the idea that the game needed to have this dealt with. Understand the decision to recognize Wondolowski might be offside, and halting play on that possibility is a split-second decision that few of us, even Fotis in the future, will get many opportunities to make. It would take a great deal of pre-game discussion and awareness to even consider how this situation might be handled and then be able to react to it in the blink of an eye. There is something else to add on this Chavez-Emery incident before we move on. These two players have been involved in the challenge we just saw in the 45th minute, and it had been discussed at halftime that this would be a matchup to keep an eye on in the second half. After halftime, another pair of fouls involving the two players occurred, and then this happened.
When Earnshaw has the ball on his foot, a dangerous proposition for any defense.
You have to be wary of it every time.
Chavez this time gets the foul in on Emery, and he might have got him a little extra after the whistle here.
Looks like we're going to have a substitution coming for the Quakes as well. Chavez just gets called for the foul on Emery.
Ooh. And the tail end right there, Kelly. Oh boy.
That's just amateur. There's no need for that from Marvin Chavez.
The elbow by Chavez went unpunished by the crew because nobody saw it, not Fotis, either AR, or the fourth official. The foul is called, and then we freeze the frame at the moment Chavez throws the elbow. See how Fotis is looking away? If you read the match report, San Jose is requesting a substitution on this stoppage. The fourth official radios Fotis to notify him of the substitution, and at that moment he turns his head from Chavez and Emery, right when Chavez, ticked off by getting hacked by Emery twice in the last 5 minutes, decides to swing his arm as a weapon and enact revenge. The AR on that side is screened from the contact. The Major League Soccer Disciplinary Committee caught this incident and suspended Chavez for 2 games for violent conduct, later reduced to 1 game on appeal. The crew missed the incident because for just a split second they let their guard down and diverted their attention from a potential hotspot to deal with a benign substitution. This is a disappointing miss for the crew because they had discussed Chavez and Emery at halftime after the caution to Emery, and Emery had then proceeded to foul Chavez again minutes before this tangle. This incident is a reminder that we have to remain aware at all times of who is fouling whom and exactly how hard those fouls are. Managing emotions become a crucial part of preventative officiating. Okay, now on to the youth stuff. First off, the following series of clips is from a boys U12 match. We're going to show you a sequence of 3 foul recognition decisions, all involving the same player, number 7, Blue.
Go pick this out. Hey, you're on the wrong field.
What was that?
We're not going to argue whether any of these in their own right are fouls or are not. Understand that we have a static camera angle and are probably screened as to any holding, minor pushing, and so forth on the first 2 challenges. But one thing we can say with fairly clear certainty is that the contact on these first 2 incidents, where a foul is called against Blue 7, pales in comparison to the sandblasting he receives in the final challenge as a green player takes a run at him from over 10 yards away, charges him off the ball with no intent to actually play the ball. Remember, a charge must not be careless and must be while challenging for the ball. What happens in the final challenge pushes the limits of that description. Nonetheless, in certain games, even the last challenge could be considered to be not a foul. What we need you to consider is whether the calls in this game were consistent. First, put yourself in the mindset of the player, Blue 7. You've just been called for 2 rather arguably small touch infractions. It may only be U12, but these teams are clearly prepared to play with a bit of physicality. Number 7 Blue clearly is a player who can use his larger body size to shield the ball and use his body to fend off challenges from opposing players. Now, if the referee wants to limit this kind of play by calling these fouls, that's fine. But if you're Blue number 7, you can understand how he might be a bit frustrated. That's okay from the referee's standpoint because the players have to adjust to how tightly the game is going to be called. Where the referee drops the ball is when a green player is allowed to try to steamroll Blue 7 with a 10-yard head of steam and nothing is called. Blue number 7 doesn't go down, but that's because he has good balance and body control. Nonetheless, the charge knocks him off the ball and prevents him from gaining a clean shot on goal. An advantage is gained by the contact. And when nothing is called, the referee has lit the fuse for a possible combustion by Blue number 7. In U12 boys soccer, this is unlikely to result in the kind of revenge foul like the elbow we saw from Martin Chavez in the Major League Soccer footage. But once you get to U13, U14, let that testosterone start churning, you're going to have a problem on your hands. The take-home message here is that either all 3 of these infractions are fouls, or just the last one is a foul, or none of them are fouls. But calling the first 2 and letting the last one go is the kind of inconsistency that drives coaches and parents crazy. That's not justification for any coach or spectator turning that into referee abuse. Please understand, not by any sense of the word do we endorse that. But consistency within the game is crucial to keeping players settled. Next up, we're going to revisit one of our old nemeses, the handling offense. Let's have a look at a few situations and then discuss. Please remember that in 2009, U.S. Soccer issued a new directive on handling that emphasized, first and foremost, that placing the arm in a position to take away a passing or shooting lane is in fact handling. Here we see an example of a good no call. Blue tries to cross the ball, but the ball strikes green on the arm. Notice that the blue player is calling for the handling foul, but the referee correctly chooses not to award a free kick. Green's arm is tucked in, and when the ball strikes him on the arm, had it not been there, it would have struck him in the torso instead. Green is not making himself bigger, so this is not handling. Compare that to the next two clips. Notice on the first clip, the ball is crossed in. The defender has the arm away from the body, and though the defender surely does not intend to play the ball with the arm, when the ball strikes him there, the arm prevents the ball from getting through to an attacker at the far post. The defender has made himself bigger, therefore this is a handling offense and it should have been called. In the last clip, a defender is trying to clear the ball up the line. Again, the opponent has the arm away from the body and the ball strikes it. The extension of the arm has removed a passing lane and prevented the defense from having an opportunity to complete this pass. This is handling and a direct free kick should be awarded. I know a lot of us cling to the idea that for handling to occur, the player must, quote, deliberately play the ball with the hand or arm. The application of the handling clause in Law 12 has changed significantly in the past 5 years, and we must all adapt to keep up with the times. We need to spend less time trying to read players' minds and more time asking just a simple question. Is what I saw fair? Our final clip this week, as promised, features a boys U9 game. Just watch and be amazed. Let's pause this challenge right here. Notice the defender has launched himself off the ground with his lead leg extended, his knee locked, and his studs exposed. He's going over the ball and he's targeting the attacker's leg. Throw out the age of the players for a moment. This is serious foul play, a clear red card if you've ever seen one. This is a tackle that can clearly cause serious injury. Using the acronym CIAPOA, we have speed, intent, aggressive nature, position of the leg, and no opportunity to play the ball. That's 5 out of 6 standards for serious foul play. We must recognize this tackle for what it is, a clear red card. Now, the logical question everybody who's watching this is asking, really? You want me to red card an 8-year-old? No, we don't want you to red card an 8-year-old. But we do need you to react to this situation with the appropriate urgency needed for a challenge that is this horrible. This young referee handled this situation perfectly. She not only called the foul, but she held up the game, took the young player aside, and spent 20 seconds explaining to him why his challenge was so terrible and how he might choose to challenge for the ball in the future to avoid doing this. It was a perfect execution of how to handle an 8-year-old that is out of control. So the next question I'm sure many of you are asking is, well, okay, at what age does this become a red card then? Roughly speaking, we would say U11. However, remember that the final aspect of CIAPOA is atmosphere. If this has been a quiet U12 match to this point and suddenly this challenge pops up out of the blue, you might be able to use the same talk 'em off the ledge technique this referee used, or maybe even just a yellow card, and still keep the match under control. As the kids get older though, keep in mind that failure to show red could be interpreted by the other team as, okay, fine studs up tackles are just yellows or verbal warnings today, so banzai. And if you're working a U11 match and have noticed a lot of players flying around with their legs off the ground, if you don't go red on a challenge like this, I can assure you that you won't be done seeing challenges like this in that game. That concludes our topics for June. We'll be back in 2 months with what we're sure will be another large collection of pro soccer madness and youth soccer clips to help you get better. We hope you enjoyed this month and come back hungry for more in August.